Wednesday, March 4th edition of the Carolina Weather Video. Meteorologist Matthew East here with you. A lot to talk about in today's edition of the video. These were temperatures yesterday. I wanted to show you the temperature trend as yesterday unfolded, and a lot of us had falling temperatures. There are the noontime temperatures there in the upper 30s in Greensboro and Raleigh, and it only got colder from there in many spots as a pretty pronounced cold air damming scenario began to unfold. Now, in the midst of that wedge this morning, a lot of fog, many spots, even deep down into Georgia and South Carolina, much of North Carolina, included in a pretty thick deck of fog and low cloud cover. Visibility is quite low, so you have a lot of dense fog advisories in effect this morning, and again, those extend all the way down into parts of South Carolina and Georgia as well. Temperatures have slowly climbed in many spots throughout the night, and as southwesterly winds work on this wedge pretty quickly, we're going to wind up with a spring-like afternoon today. It's going to feel very nice out there just ahead of our next cold front. There it is, off to the northwest of us. And again, we're kind of socked in with fog and low clouds this morning, but I do think some of that erodes with southwesterly winds kicking into gear, and at least a few intervals of sunshine on the way this afternoon. Let's take a detailed look at the radar. Again, not much across the Carolinas in terms of measurable rain, a lot of drizzle and mist in this wedge this morning, but a lot of precipitation with that incoming front. A lot of it rained, and then you hit some snow into parts of Pennsylvania, Ohio, and Indiana, and Illinois, and then a lot of rain all the way back into parts of the Tennessee Valley, I should say the Mississippi Valley, and then toward the Red River Valley. And look at all of the winter weather products out in advance of this incoming storm system. Lots of winter storm warnings, including Dallas, Little Rock, and Memphis, Louisville, and Lexington, much of West Virginia, and the nation's capital, all included in winter storm warnings. North Mississippi there in a winter storm warning, and places like Tupelo and Starkville in a winter storm watch. And here's the reason why. As the low-level cold air funnels in here behind this system, you're going to wind up with an area of very significant wintry precipitation in some areas. Check out Futurecast here, and as we get into the day tomorrow, there you go. This is 8 o'clock Eastern time on Thursday, and deep down into northern Louisiana, and of course Texas, as mentioned, you have that wintry precip occurring. Rain here tonight into tomorrow morning, but then in North Carolina, and even maybe parts of South Carolina, we see this precipitation end tomorrow as a little bit of a wintry mix. I'll show you that in more detail in just a minute. But look at this footprint of snow. This is a big-time winter storm. Again, especially in those areas that were in that winter storm warning, which I showed you a couple of moments ago. Today, again, ahead of this front, it's going to be a very warm day, and then falling temperatures tonight with rain arriving. Here's a look at those numbers this afternoon. Look at that. What a spring-like afternoon here across the region. Much different than yesterday. And then along this front, a little area of low pressure will form, and that will keep the precipitation chances going through much of the day tomorrow. You notice with time, as this low-level cold air arrives from the north, you see some changeover to a wintry mix in parts of North Carolina. Now, rain totals, maybe a half inch in some Piedmont and foothill spots, and then this is what the RPM model is indicating for sleet and snow accumulation around the Triad area. And as I back that out, you can see that zone of sleet and snow that extends up, especially up into the Virginias and back into the mountains. And then here's the North American model showing the NAM model showing ice accumulation forecast ideas. And you have a zone of a little glazing of ice here across the Triangle region, especially up near the Virginia border, and then really a significant glazing of ice on the NAM right along the coast. We'll see if that verifies. That's obviously not an everyday occurrence, but something interesting that's showing up on some of the short-range models. And I'll show you the high-resolution modeling here in just a minute. Friday, the system is gone. A cold day, though. Check out these Friday highs around the region in spite of a pretty good amount of sunshine in many spots. It's going to be a cold day before temperatures moderate pretty rapidly, over the upcoming weekend. All right, let's start with today. This is what the GFS model is indicating for high temperatures this afternoon. Look at all the 70s all across much of the region, 80s in places like Jacksonville, Florida, and maybe a few 80-degree readings creeping into the parts of South Carolina, and maybe in a spot or two in southeastern North Carolina. Now, here comes the precipitation. This is an area of low pressure that is formed along this frontal boundary on the GFS model right there. This is the 0Z run of the model. And again, back in the cold air, you have all this wintry precip. Rain moves, this is valid, by the way, daybreak tomorrow. Rain arrives tonight over much of the Carolinas, and then as this low-level cold air kind of eases in from the north, you notice it happens in a pattern here where the advection or the movement of this cold air is delayed right here in this region due to the mountains, but you see this cold air making it up and around the mountains there, kind of moving in from the north into parts of eastern and northern sections of North Carolina. So this is early in the afternoon tomorrow, and then this is valid tomorrow evening. And see that wintry mix, ice down in the Sandhills region, sleet being indicated there for parts of the Piedmont, say Salisbury, up through the Triad and Triangle regions, and then a little bit of snow in northwestern North Carolina. And finally, all this moves to the coast, the GFS indicating a little freezing rain in places like Myrtle Beach and Wilmington, maybe even the southern Outer Banks. That's pretty wild. And then again, this is the total precipitation type accumulation off of the 0Z run of the GFS model. This is the sleet area, rain of course, in the pink areas where the GFS model is indicating freezing rain. It's hitting those coastal areas too, as well as areas north of the Triangle region, and then again a little bit of snow involved as well. Okay, now again off to the west, look at this winter storm here. Texas, Arkansas, northern Louisiana, northern Mississippi, northern Alabama. This is a pretty decent winter storm here. This is valid early afternoon tomorrow, and then finally by evening tomorrow. So you end up with a pretty good zone of wintry precip. Again, this is your ice accumulation. There's your snow accumulation. This is your sleet accumulation there across the Mississippi Valley and up to the Tennessee and the Ohio Valley. All right, let's go to the NAM model. This is the 4-kilometer NAM from 0Z. I have not seen the 6Z run at the time I'm cutting this video, but this is valid early afternoon tomorrow. And then we go a few hours later, 4 o'clock in the afternoon Eastern Time. You can see that wintry mix and parts of the Triad, the Triangle region, and gradually working southeast from there before the system departs. Now, let's see, this is the high-resolution NAM sleet and snow accumulation there, and it does put a little bit on the ground there for parts of the central and eastern North Carolina. And again, this is the wider perspective. Look at that swath of very significant snow and sleet accumulations right through there. That's a big-time winter storm. So the bottom line here is that I think across North Carolina, let me go back to this map here. Across North Carolina, yeah, I do think we could see certainly a period of wintry precip, especially the Triad, Triangle regions, then on south toward the coast, maybe even the Charlotte zones, depending on how the cold air behaves at the low levels. Due to the warm day today, though, and temperatures kind of falling as the precipitation occurs, though, I don't think this is going to be a big-time winter storm, but it could be a glazing of ice or sleet here in some spots, and we'll just kind of have to see where the precipitation is maximized with the low-level cold air tomorrow and see where the best zone of any glazing of ice might be. It doesn't look like a huge winter storm, but something we do need to watch, and there could be some impacts in parts of the region tomorrow. All right, that is it for today's edition of the video. Everybody have a wonderful day, and God bless.